Hi friends, welcome to Wednesdays with Whitney. I am coming to you live from my living room during a pretty impressive storm. So we will see if I can stay live during this. Also, you know I'm probably concerned about this, that we don't have natural light today, so my lighting scenario is a little off. So bear with me. I honestly thought about lighting this and I just decided that I could go with it. So I'm gonna do something I've never done before. So this is Ask Me Anything, and the first question I want to address is Suzanne Benke's. So thanks, Suzanne. It was your favorite book, event, music, thing. So I'm handing phones off to Megan as this happens. So my favorite book in the whole entire world is Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, and I've been listening to this book on Audible since I moved here. So 3.5 years ago, I fall asleep listening to audiobooks at night. It's a very strange thing about me, but it just calms me. It gets me out of my head. And I have been listening to Year of Yes for 3.5 years now. And what I have learned from that, so when I first read Year of Yes, I just saw Shonda as this like super, I mean, she's super impressive, but I wanted to be her and I wanted to say yes. And so I was taking a lot from the like how to say yes portion of that. And then there was a while where I was like, oh, I could kind of identify with different parts of her story, the parts where she was like turning inwards and walking away from things because things got so big. So like, and then I'm kind of back into the yes mode now. So it's just a book that's really grown with me and really spoke to my soul at every single point in my life. So Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, if you haven't read it yet, literally everyone in the universe should be reading this book. It's my like human Bible. So that one. Okay, I've got more here. We're gonna move on to Brittany Haskins, AKA One Sweet Kitchen. Her question is, Des Moines is great and gets many accolades for being the top 5 this, the best of that. What's one or a few things you think we still need to work on or see as gaps or weaknesses in the community? I love this question because I'm always someone that's looking for spaces to improve. And Des Moines is a place that I moved back to specifically because it's becoming so incredible. Something that I do, and I chose to build my business here, like I specifically chose here. But something that I do see happening is there's a lot of, we tend to make a lot of generalizations, I think as a culture, but definitely as Midwesterners. And I see like, there's like these sweeping statements like, you know, why is the East Village successful? I remember sitting in on a panel about marketing, and I was invited to this panel to give my opinion, but the question started off with, why do you think the East Village is successful? And this question really triggered me because while the perception of the East Village is super successful, I've spoken to so many of the individual shop owners that would tell you that they're having a hard time. So that's actually what triggered a lot of Emily and I's exploration and brand launch of how we could help build community, what was really missing from our marketing structure. But I think when you start conversations with the wrong question, so they were asking a question that I didn't like. First of all, I was like, how do you measure success? Does it look successful? This is a big thing for me when people say, oh, you're so successful, or oh, this place is so successful. I'm like, okay, let's define the parameters of success first. Because a lot of times people are saying it's visually successful, but that has nothing to do with the actual experience of the human or the humans or the company or the brand that's living within that perception. So I know that actually Liz Lidget talks about this a lot too. So hey Liz, if you're out there, perception of success versus reality of success. And I think with the East Village in particular, knowing that we need to show up and build some infrastructure around the individual businesses and not just a community as a whole. So yes, I think we're doing a great job supporting holistic ideas of community. I think we have a long ways to go in supporting the individual businesses and the people working really hard within those communities. Okay, that was a good one. Thanks, Britt. Always can count on you. Becca, Dr. Becca Lake, this is my chiropractor, Shine Chiropractic. I see her every single week. She saves me on a regular basis. This is a big one. Okay. What experiences can you think of, good or bad, that have had an effect on you making you the professional that you are now? What did you learn from these experiences? What's good advice for professionals when they're encountering their wins or rough experiences? Oh gosh. this is just a big question, right? I had this moment, it was about a year and a half ago now, where I had someone that was in a mentor position to me. I was in a group scenario, and group scenarios are not always my strongest suit. I tend to be a bit of a rugged individualist, if you haven't noticed by the fact that I own businesses. Anyway, but this mentor challenged me, and she looked at me directly out of everybody in this group, and she was like, have you ever failed? And I was like, and she said it like maybe I hadn't, so I needed to be challenged or to know. And I was like, I fail so regularly, but I don't let my failures define my existence. So I think that that's probably the difference. Like, I think photography as a medium teaches you to fail so gracefully. Like the very first thing you do, if you learned back what I did, is develop your own film. And the amount, if any of you have ever developed your own film, let's just like talk about how horrific that experience is, okay? And how much Megan's over here laughing at me. She's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, you will be taught to fail over and over and over again. And I fail so consistently when I'm taking photos. I mean, yeah, you guys all see the successes, but there's like 5 images that weren't a success, and then you pick out the win. So I think that that's really the way that so the advice I would give is like, yes, you're gonna have failure after failure after failure. Some are gonna be big and some are gonna be small. Most of them are gonna be things that only you see. Most of them are gonna be only failures because you have identified them as failures. Whereas the successes are what we talk about, it's what we post about, it's what we show. Like every image that goes up on my profile, feed, whatever, it's a success, right? But that's not reality. So I need to get back to this question, but Megan needs to let me back on her phone. So that's the one thing I would say is like, don't let your successes don't let your failure define your successes. And if you keep experiencing failure, the universe is trying to tell you something, and it's not quit. It's something else. It's a direction. It's, time to get a coach, time to get a counselor, time to like talk to somebody about stuff, time to admit you don't know everything. I've done all of these things. All of the coaches, counseling, and commenting are invited in my life. But I think one of the other big things, I want to go back to this. So one of the things that I did that a lot of people still don't know is that I have always worked for other photographers. So my job in college, I was working for a photographer. My job directly out of grad school, I worked for Natalie, my best friend, for 4 years. I was somebody's assistant for 4 years. So I managed her studio, I photographed for her, I helped organize her life, I helped her with marketing plans. And I think it's kind of crazy for people to think about that now, because you all in Des Moines met me as a boss, right? You met me as the owner of Ivory House Photography, but that was not my identity for so long. For so long, I was the person who helped other people succeed. But what I've realized about being a boss is that why I wanted to be a boss is that I knew that I could do that on a bigger scale, more directly, with more impact underneath my own control. And I also knew that because Natalie had given me so much freedom and so much ability to make impact in her business, I already had a really firm grasp on how I wanted to run my business. So working on that with her, and then continuing, I have her now as my business bestie who I talk to about all things photo related and life related. But that was huge for me. And then if you are, I think, I've been talking to a ton of business owners about this lately. If you own a business and you are 100% all in on owning your business, and you know who those people are because they look different, because they look like simultaneously peaceful and a little crazy, right? Because they're like, is that accurate, Megan? Because like, if you're a business owner that's truly living in your purpose, and it's like what you do and it's where you live and it's like what connects you to the ground, like my businesses connect me to the ground, but it is still sometimes so hard to run these businesses that I love so much. And I don't talk about that a lot because usually when it's happening, like that's not a time for me to come out and be like, yeah guys, that sucked. But it does suck. And so I've sat around the table with, 4 or 5 business owners that I admire, respect, utilize, like wouldn't want to live without their services. And they're all telling me like, wouldn't it be nice to go get a job? And like, I want to tell you guys, I have thought about it. Like Megan's like, yep. And I'm like, sometimes I think about getting a job because there are certain things that are easier, but there's also certain things that are easier about being a business owner. So at the end of the day, I continue to make the choice to be a business owner because, weighing it out, and like, I don't think I could actually live without my businesses. Like they're part of me. But if you're out there and you're having one of those moments where you're spinning and like, I could just go get a job, like you are not alone. We all do that. The people who continue to make the choice to do their business, like it's an act of bravery. Like you continue to show up and you continue to get beat up because that is the nature of this business. This is the nature of owning your own business. Because you're making all the decisions, you also get all the fallout. Like that's just gonna happen. So if you ever want to talk about that, if you're going through a like, should I quit phase, just give me a call. We'll work through it. So thank you, Dr. Becca. That was a great question. Okay, Jessie Phillips. What would you do? Well, this is a pertinent follow-up. What would you do if you were not a photographer or the co-owner of Brand Launch? So most of you know I own 2 businesses. Ivory House was my first baby, and then Brand Launch with Emily is my second baby. And underneath Brand Launch is the Hummingbirds, which is like my big baby right now. It's really hard for me to conceptualize what I would do if I wasn't doing this. So I'm gonna answer that question. I would want to be working for someone that I truly respected. That's kind of the key to me is working. If I'm gonna work for someone, it has to be someone that can push me, can like take me places, can question me, can challenge me. Like those things are super important. And it's sometimes something I miss about working for myself is that I don't have somebody. I'm very, very self-motivated, as we've probably all witnessed, but I don't always have the person that's like, what you gonna do next? Although Megan, thank you, she's sitting over here. Sometimes she kicks me out of my own house because she's like, you need a day off. You're gonna go watch a movie. You're gonna leave. And I was like, thank you, you're right. I'm gonna go do that. But I will answer that with what I thought about doing when I was in middle school, high school, was I thought about being a counselor. Like that's what I thought I was gonna be, was a counselor. And I think I kind of ended up there. Like I think maybe I do that. I just do it through a different medium, and I don't have their training. But what I loved about counseling was the ability to make impact in somebody's life in a life-changing way. And I hope that occasionally I get to do that through the businesses that I run. So I will never be a counselor, but I know a fair amount of my friends who would probably call me first anyway. So I guess I'm living my dream. Megan, I keep losing it. What's the next one? I think Carla had an additional question too. Oh, thank you. Okay. Let me answer this one and then we'll do Carla's other question and then Rachel's. So Nora, hey Nora. Nora asked me, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Like I think about this. So something I've been actively doing lately is identifying my fears and then doing them anyway. And this comes in like, it's been pretty like small stuff, I would say. Like I started an unapologetically extra Instagram account. Like for the whole reason for that was to kind of like it's like a free space. Like it's a very public free space, but I started doing that. Like for some reason now I'm writing poetry. Like who knew? I didn't know. I did know. I wrote a lot of poetry in 7th grade, but it's been since then. So if you're interested in like what goes on up here, unfiltered, if that's entertaining to you, you can go on Instagram and do the unapologetically extra thing. But if I couldn't fail, even if I could fail, like I don't want failure. I don't want failure to ever have a factor in my decision making. So I think that that's actually how I would answer that is so like right now, Emily and I are building Hummingbird technology software. That is huge. It's a huge investment. It's so much unknown. Like I've never thought through something this hard. And it is really, really hard. Like photography is really straightforward. I do really inventive things with my marketing and my systems and things like that. But the act of photography is like, we all get it. I don't have to explain it to anybody. But I think the Hummingbird platform, this community, it's currently what I'm doing that is so out of my realm of conception that I could fail because I don't even really know what the marker of success is. And I think that there's something to be said for knowing what success looks like. And then where I think it gets sticky is when you have no idea. I don't know what success looks like there. And I don't define my own personal success by monetary numbers. So, I mean, even though that's nice, right? Yeah, that stuff's good. But when I think about what kind of life I'm gonna have when Hummingbirds is what I think it's gonna be, like what does success look like there? Or what does failure look like when you're putting yourself out there on this huge, incredible level? Like when Emily and I are conceiving of the Hummingbirds, we want this to be nationwide. We want to teach people how to do community like Des Moines does community, like Emily and I do community, like we're teaching people to do community. That's the whole basis of the Hummingbird idea. But like what does success look like? I don't know. Like, it might look like 1,000 failures before it looks like success. And then I'm ready for that. We're ready for that. I've practiced failure, so I'm ready to fail bigger now. Oh, I think that's it. Oh my God, we gotta write that down. I'm ready to fail bigger. Oh, that was so good. I had a moment, guys. Because I think that failing bigger, taking bigger risks, like risk taking is a muscle that you flex. Like you don't just jump out of the chute. Well, actually you do. When you're children, you just jump out of the chute ready to take risks. Like your life is a risk. But as adults, we get so bogged down in failure that we become risk adverse. So when I started practicing taking risks, that's when my tolerance to risk really built up. So now when people see like the things, comments I get sometimes are like, I would never do the things you do, or how do you do that? Or how do you do that? I'm like, I built it up over time. I built up a resistance. So now getting on Wednesdays with Whitney, 2 years? A while. It's been a while, 2 years. 2 years later, I don't even think about this. This is not a risk. I mean, I'm just hoping I don't curse, but it's not a risk. So my idea of risk has shifted. What's Carla's other question?
Okay, she said, how do you schedule in time for self-care when you're so busy? And if you have 10 interrupted minutes for self-care, what do you do?
Ooh, good. Okay, I'm going to answer 2 questions at once. So Rachel also asked, how do you stay organized? And Carla's asking, how do I schedule self-care? I'm a self-care junkie. That was not always the case. I would say the first 2 years of my business, I failed miserably at scheduling any time for myself, at making any time for myself, of prioritizing myself. And there's a lot of factors to that. When you own your own business, your business is yourself, or at least that's how I felt. My business is me. So any work I do on my business is work I'm doing on myself. So it was really hard to separate that. Also money. Like for the first couple of years of my business, I just didn't have any. Didn't have any, guys. I didn't have extra. The money I had was going back into building my business. It was paying for my support system. It was paying my general bills. It was making sure that I had enough money at the end of tax season, which sometimes I didn't. There are ways that you can self-care that don't require money. I'm not good at those, so I gave up on that. But the ways that I do incorporate it is I try to have 15 minutes at the beginning of every morning that are phone free, and I just sit and I either write. I write a lot. That's my way to unplug and really be with myself. Or I just sit and stare. sometimes. If I can't write, or, you know, Winston and I will have a little moment. But that getting up early is actually, I'm not always up early, but most of the time I am up early. Early enough that I have a couple hours before my first appointment to make sure that I have some time for myself. The other ways that I really focus on self-care is I go to weekly chiropractor. I get massages more than most humans ever. My favorite places, I have like a tribe of massage therapists because you just never know what you're gonna want. But I love the Chinese reflexology out in West Des Moines. Oh my God. Sometimes I just go for foot rubs. It's like most amazing. And then I go to Ravensong when I want to like get in there. And then I also have Massage Heights where I go see Forrest. And like, I just get a lot of massages, guys. My job is super physical. I am on my feet hours a day, most days. So I lean into that. I do a lot of walks. I do morning yoga almost every morning at Adamantine. I'm there about 5 days a week if I'm in town. I haven't been sick in like a year and a half. I don't know. I don't have a real reason for what that is other than the fact that I do sleep 8 hours a night for sure. It's like something I don't sacrifice. I sacrifice a lot of other things, but I don't sacrifice my sleep. So those are my self-care things. Organizationally, if we're talking about systems, first of all, I have help. She's right there. She's hiding behind the camera today. But Megan is in charge of all things files. So once I take a picture, she literally handles it from there. And we have systems in place. We use Asana as our like production queue so that, you know, next week I think we have 55
something, a wedding.
Yeah, a wedding, a couple of events. You know, we have about 55 moving pieces coming through our studio next week. And the way that we're able to accommodate that is that there's two of us. We have super strong, like every single time a person enters my studio, it should be the same exact experience. I have emails that are canned that like, of course I customize depending on what it is, but I have structured emails that go out to every single client that I plan ahead for. I've spent a ton of time doing that. Like a ton of time, guys. Like all of March. And then all before that, but now I use Dubsado. So the two systems I rely most heavily on are Dubsado and Asana, and that's kind of how I make my world go. And I just hired, this is brand new, we're transitioning her in. I just hired a virtual assistant. She lives here, her name's Amanda Arnold, hey gal. She's gonna be helping me take over my scheduling and my invoicing. I needed more time in my life to hang out with myself and my friends. And I also needed more time for the hummingbirds and Brand Launch. So Ivory House is at a really, really good place right now. And we have so many good systems in place that I felt like it was time that I could let go of some of that scheduling stuff because it takes a lot of time and energy. My calendar is crazy. If anybody's ever seen it, it's just a lot of crazy colors. Do we have any other questions? Does anybody out there, 10, 11 of you watching right now, have any questions that you want to throw in the ring? I'm right here. Do we get them all? Mm-hmm. Okay. Couple things I want you guys to know. I have a few, I think 4 headshot slots left on Monday. If you want one of those, they're Monday afternoon. If you want one of those, post in the comments, Facebook message me, whatever. I will send you the link directly. I'd love to get those all filled up. I know it's RAGBRAI. I didn't know it was RAGBRAI. And then people were like, it's RAGBRAI. And I was like, we live in Des Moines. It's always something. And then, Dream House extra sessions. Yes, Megan's dancing back here. We're like, this is so good. That was a big like people. Oh my gosh. Dream House extra sessions are live. They're in the photo that I posted that's just below that, the link. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so awesome. It's at a model home out in Waukee. It's Dreamscape Builders who were invading this gorgeous house. They've let us have it for the afternoon. Extra sessions are basically the whole point is the whole point is to show up and have photos for no good reason, but people find really good reasons for them. So this one's like specifically designed for like realtors who need to have photos in a really fun home space, lifestyle bloggers who maybe don't have a house that they want to photograph in. You can bring props. I know that Brittany might be showing up with some baked goods that she'll leave behind, maybe. I don't know. We'll talk to her about that. But like, think outside the box on this one. It's a gorgeous home. Let me know if you have any questions. It is out in Waukee. I almost never leave the Des Moines metro area. So if you have been waiting for me to leave downtown, it's happening now. Oh, thanks, Mark. Good to see you. So I think that's all I have. $100 headshots, unapologetically extra. Those two are both still live. And I know that people think I don't do family photos. I do, actually. Just I do them like family mini sessions. So those dates will be going live, I would say early August for September and October and early November. And once those, I'm basically gonna have set days for those guys, and once they are gone, they are gone. So I'll open up probably 50 to 60 family mini sessions. We'll get those booked up. Hopefully dates work for you guys. And as always, we have, we're gonna get back on Megan's kids extra sessions starting in August. The next one's at Cole's Commons. Yes, so Megan will be doing her next kids extra sessions at Cole's Commons because it's gorgeous right now. And I think that's all for studio news. Ooh, Ivory House news, brand launch news. Emily and I are literally headed to Kansas City tonight, and we are gonna spend 3 days there working on personal branding curriculum. Oh my God, I should have started with that. I'm so pumped about that. So we've been asked, both of us get asked all the time, like, how did you build your personal brand? And first I didn't know the answer to that question. Because what I was doing felt really intuitive, and same with Emily. And then we were like, oh, I think we need to like figure out how to talk about this. So we have spent the past, year and a half of Brand Launch's existence figuring out how to talk about this. And we are ready to put it in writing, put it in curriculum, and we are hoping to have a opportunity for you guys to engage starting in September. So it goes really nicely. All my businesses kind of just do this together, but it goes really nicely with the hummingbirds, because hummingbirds are all about, the birds have strong personal brands. People are asking about that. Business owners need to have strong personal brands. I photograph a lot of business owners, and it just goes like this. So pretty thrilled about everything that's happening around here. And thank you guys all for watching. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.